Tank Dell was going to get hype in Houston no matter what, being a local guy. However, a few days into camp, he's living up to the hype. He actually spoke. We'll hear what he had to say, and we'll hear what his quarterback and offensive coordinator had to say as well. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah, it's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room.
Welcome to the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. If you're new to the channel, I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app, top source for Texans radio and podcast entertainment and information. And this is the number one source for digital content surrounding the Houston Texans. Subscribe, like, ride along. Appreciate you for coming through, whether you're a Texans fan or not. I think this is a good way to follow and get the pulse of things going on around here. Let's talk about Tank Dell. Tank Dell, being a U of H guy, was going to get hyped no matter what. And heading into camp, I wanted to not necessarily be skeptical or pessimistic about what Tank Dell could provide, but I wanted to take a step back and judge Tank Dell as if he was a player from some other college, not a local guy from U of H that was going to get loved up on no matter what. And I've got to tell you, a few days into camp, I'm extremely impressed. I'll tell you what sticks out the most about Tank Dell in a sec. But first, let's hear about the man himself. Let's hear from the man himself, and let's kind of massage the local angle and get that out of the way before we hear from his offensive coordinator and his quarterback, CJ Stroud, who was connected to him on draft night. This is Tank Dell talking about why he always wanted to be a member of the Houston Texans.
Man, I saw the area code come through the phone, man. I was so excited. I could have ran to the stadium, man. But it was definitely a relief because I wanted to be here. You know, I wanted to be here with these guys, this coaching staff, this team, this unit. So it was perfect.
All right. So he always wanted to be here. He's here. And now that he's here, there's a lot of things about Tank Dell that I find really interesting. First of all, any notion that Tank Dell was going to be just a slot guy, that's been squashed in a very short time in camp. And most people who watched him at U of H, they squashed that as well. He's lining up on the outside traditionally. He's lining up stacked on the outside. He's lining up in the slot. He's going in motion. He's lining up everywhere. And no matter where he lines up, the one consistent theme with Tank Dell is he's making plays. Here is CJ Stroud talking about Tank Dell and his early thoughts on Tank Dell as they were developing a relationship. This was before camp started, and I'll talk about kind of something that's clear in camp. Here's CJ Stroud talking about his early relationship with Tank Dell.
Yeah, it's been going great. We've been hanging out in the hotel, just going over scripts, getting the plays down together. It's great to be not only just by myself in this, but with a great rookie class, not only just football players, but human beings. So Tank has done a great job, very vocal, wants to be better, wants to know what we like so he can run the route a certain way, wants to get right with the coaches. So he's just very, very in tune to what we want, and he wants to just be great. So it's amazing to be around somebody who's very like-minded.
It's very clear that CJ Stroud trusts Tank Dell as well. That's one of the early things that you can clearly notice with those two. They have chemistry. A couple of the best throws CJ Stroud has made have been to Tank Dell, and it's very clear that there is a certain amount of chemistry there. There's been traditional outs on the outside. There's been flag routes to the sidelines where CJ Stroud, has found him on the sidelines. We're live at camp, so we're getting pretty good views of this. And there's times where he's hitting him across the middle on post routes and stuff. And there was one time where he missed him, and then they gathered around, and on the very next time they ran it, they connected. So the chemistry is clear, and the notion that Tank Dell is a one-trick pony, that's been completely squashed. The slot thing, no. He's lining up all over the place. Just a deep threat? No. As a matter of fact, like the intermediate game is what sticks out, which is good. Like any notion that he was going to be like a one-trick pony, not at all. He's a more complete receiver already than Nico Collins. And you can clearly see that on the field. Nico Collins right now, I think he is just a deep threat at this point in his career, which is fine. You need that. Tank Dell's a guy that you can find intermediately. You can find multiple ways to get him on involved. So that's a couple of takeaways. Just the slot guy, intermediate stuff, not buying that. Bobby Slowick. What does Bobby Slowick have to say about Tank Dell? Here's the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans talking about the man of the hour, Tank Dell.
He's extremely fun to coach. That would be the first thing I have about Tank is he's a joy to coach. He's always listening. He's intentful. He wants to work. I think I mentioned in the off season just how hungry he is, how much he prepares, and he knows how much he has to prepare. Just
no recordings available.
Different this was in college, and he goes out and
continue mode set. Continue mode set.
Puts on tape.
Continue mode set.
And he's an elite separator, and it shows up.
We talked to a lot of offensive players about learning your offense. Playbook is really intense. Damian Pierce said it's like the Bible, and everything that kind of ties it together. It takes a little to the process.
I left that second part from Brooks Cabina in there because the playbook is interesting. Here is Tank Dell on Bobby Slowick, and this is the first year perspective that we've gotten from a Texan on Bobby Slowick. Here's Tank Dell talking about learning from Slowick.
Yeah, Coach Slow, that's my guy. He helped me a lot with the offense, breaking it down to a standpoint where we can understand and not just he giving us a bunch of stuff and just telling us to go learn it. He actually break it down and make sure me, the whole receiver group, the quarterbacks, running backs, everybody understanding. That's what we have long meetings for. So I feel like Coach Slow, he's been doing a great job. He's a great offensive coordinator. Can't wait to get it rolling with him.
Yeah, and they've gotten it rolling. They've gotten it rolling. He's all over the place. He's not in one spot. What about that chemistry with CJ Stroud that we previously mentioned? Let's hear Tank Dell talking about that.
Yeah, and not just with me and CJ, like CJ and all the receivers, just the chemistry that and the time that we put in, when the offseason came, we was going to UH to go throw in the indoor, went to LA with the receivers, and I feel like all that's coming to show, we're going out there to make plays. Defense is going to get us on some reps to his football, but overall, I feel like we've just been putting ourselves in a good spot and going out there and making plays.
Between Tank Dell, John Mechie, these are two guys who seem to be able to line up in multiple places, and they've been lining up in multiple spots. And versatility at one point for a too long of a stretch with the Texans, it was a guy can do multiple things, mediocre or below average, and not really do anything good. We heard that on the offensive line. We saw it a little bit even at wide receiver in the last few years. That doesn't seem to be the case with Tank Dell. He looks really, really good everywhere that he lines up. And if you just look at the production at U of H, last year, 109 catches, 1,398 yards, 17 touchdowns, 2 years combined at U of H, 2,727 yards, 199 catches, 29 TD. I left out the COVID year. That's production. Now, how does a guy like this slide in the draft? Two reasons. Number one, size. That's obvious. By the way, they have him listed at 5'10". On the Texans roster that they hand us at camp. Yeah, don't know about all that. And also maybe a little bit of the system, the air raid. Still maybe a little bit of, questions about that production, which understandably so. Now, do I think Tank Dell is going to lead this team in receiving? I don't know. But when it comes to versatility and productive versatility, we've kind of seen Robert Woods taking it easy, and they're letting the young guys get acclimated. Tank Dell looks really, really, really good in camp, and it's going to be really interesting to see how not just he, but the rest of the wide receivers produce, specifically the other two guys that are going to be playing NFL football for the first year, fellow rookie Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State and John Mechie, who obviously, and by the way, John Mechie, be tuning in to In the Loop tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say, maybe in the 11 o'clock hour. John Mechie, shout out to him. But those are three guys that are very, very intriguing. And those are the guys where you don't know what the ceiling is for those guys yet. You have an idea what Robert Woods is. I think you have a decent idea of what Nico Collins is. Noah Brown, who knows what he can be. He's been in the league, but we've never seen these guys. And could they end up being really solid complementary guys for CJ Stroud? What will they be? So far, they look pretty damn good. It's early in camp, but so far they look pretty damn good. What does Tank Dell think about them?
I start with Mitch. Mitch, that's my guy. Me and Mitch, we done built a good bond, a strong bond. That's my guy. We on the field, we talking. Off the field, we talking. He telling me things to help me. I'm critiquing him. He critiquing me. And then we just having fun. We joking with each other. So we just building that type of relationship. And X just a funny guy, man. He willing to work wherever you put him. You know, he move around from X, Z, F. Everywhere, wherever you want to put him, he's ready. And he's willing to work too, you know, coming in strong-minded, ready to work, get in the playbook.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with these wide receivers. Tank Dell right now, though, better than advertised. Again, got to look at it, take it with a grain of salt. Local guy, he was going to get hyped up no matter what. But Tank Dell, he looks like a guy that might have been a little bit of a steal in the third round. And when you look at the needs that the Texans have, Tank Dell, being a pleasant surprise and being a guy that can line up in multiple places and make a lot of plays would be very, very good for the Houston Texans. Going to be back at camp throughout the week. We're 1 week away from an actual game, so it's one thing to sit here and talk about practice and give the evaluations. We in here talking about practice. We're actually going to get to watch a game and what Tank Dell and the rest of these fellas do. No matter what happens, though, when it comes to this Texan stuff, whether Tank Dell thrives, whether he's better than advertised, no matter what, when it comes to this Texan stuff, whether you're a Texans fan or just someone trying to get the pulse, when it comes to this Texans digital game, we are all in this together. Appreciate you for coming through.
Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlock, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for